So I'm assuming that Commissioner Collins, you'll be leading this meeting with the information that you sent out earlier?
Hi. Yes, I will.
Okay.
And it's going to take me just a second. One of my monitors just need to pull this up here. So why don't we start, if it's all right with you, Counselor, with the RFP?
Okay, hold on one second.
Sure.
I'm just pulling up the PDF now. Are you going to be able to share your screen?
I should be able to do that.
Okay. Because mine's taking a while to put up.
Let's see what I can come up with here. All right, are you able to see it?
It's just a dark screen right now.
I'm sorry, say that again.
It's just a dark screen right now.
Should be coming up.
Okay.
Still nothing?
Nope.
All right. So it seems to me we know. It's a pretty simple matter if you want to just talk through it real quick.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
So what I forwarded is an incomplete letter because I'm just waiting on some information from the RFP, but we did have response 20-130 that is specific to architectural services for blighted properties. And CityLink Architecture was the to that. The committee met, reviewed the response. It was a complete response. The architect is a women-owned firm in the city of Syracuse. In her previous position before she went on her own, my understanding is she's provided these services in the past for her previous employer to the city of Syracuse. And the committee felt that her quality of work, Ken Townsley, Director of Codes, felt that the quality was good, and the committee felt like the fair compared to. So the committee voted to forward to the council that we enter into contract with CityLink Architects.
Okay. Is Ken on the call as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Counselor.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Latoya, how are you?
I'm good. Did you have anything that you wanted to add?
No, I think Mike covered it well. She's done a great job for us dealing with our blighted properties. I wish we had more competition, but this is what we've got.
So this was the only one?
Yes, ma'am.
So when I look up the attachment, there's only one letter. Was there anything attached to this letter? Or it's just the letter? Can you guys hear me?
Yep, I think Mike?
Sorry, I'm talking to myself here. No, there's not an attachment to it. Attach the response to the RFP if that's it.
Okay. Because what was the, is there a dollar amount?
That I need to go to the RFP and confirm.
Okay.
Information, I'll forward that as soon as I have it.
Okay, so we'll have that information before next week when it goes onto the agenda so that way it's on the actual letter.
You'll have on the actual letter the dollar amount and the length of the contract.
Okay.
Mike, you might have a connection problem. You might need to take off your video so we can hear you better.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments from my colleagues? No. Councilor Hogan?
Council, yeah, I don't have anything on that particular thing, but I was wondering, I texted Ken this morning regarding what procedurally, where are we as far as blighted properties go and code violations, and when are the courts due to open, or had they opened, and what about the BAA and all that?
So, Counselor, a couple things with that. I was hoping Brian Eisenberg touched base with you in regards to the two individual properties that you brought up in your text. But it looks like courts are going to start opening up in June. We have not stopped the process of ticketing, so we have continued to send tickets up to the BAA to address. In the same token, we have continued the process of sending things to our law department for them to deal with in court. I can't speak on behalf of the law department, but that's where we are in code enforcement.
So the BAA can't act on anything yet either, is that correct, or?
Leah and the BAA are following through on the same court docket as the law department.
Okay. Thanks, Scott.
Did Brian touch base with you?
No, he hasn't yet. No, not this morning.
I'll give you a call when we're done with this.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So if we're all set with that one, we can move forward. And if any other questions or comments from colleagues? So everybody's good with that one? All right. All right, so we'll move on. Commissioner Collins, do you want to speak on the second one that you submitted? This looks like the to amend the revised ordinance to add chapter 54 entitled lead abatement. You want to discuss that one?
I'm sorry, I'm having audio. Please.
Mike, I'll take this one. This is the addition to the SBCC for the lead ordinance.
Perfect. Thank you, Ken.
Counselor, this is to present the actual ordinance for lead control going forward in the city of Syracuse. We're hoping for the adoption of it. This will spell out exactly what the city can and cannot do going forward in regards to lead-based paint within 1 through 5 family structures in the city.
And this was from, because it says this is the information from the seeker. The findings
That
of
is,
the seeker.
I may want Joe Barry from the law department to issue that, but it's a separate issue. Seeker is completed, from what I understand. All our preliminary items that are led up to the ordinance are completed. Now it's a matter of accepting the seeker questions or how the seeker input and the lead ordinance that we built through the DGIS, the FGEIS, all the questions for the public, the questions from the counselors, the agenda or the ordinance that we have presented to you is what we believe is the final.
Joe Barry?
Oh, sorry to interrupt. I was just trying to confirm. And said is, as to seeker, we've been through really a year long process with seeker and the different issues through the council. The last meeting, you adopted the final environmental impact statement, which will be published this week in the state's environmental notice bulletin. Leaving the one final act that's referenced in Ken's letter is what the state calls a finding statement, which is basically just a summary of the environmental impact statement that they require to be present legislatively when you adopt the actual action that the seeker was about, in this case, the lead ordinance.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay. Ken, did you have anything else you wanted to add on that?
Well, Counselor, I think the ordinance speaks for itself. I think we've discussed a lot about what we're going to do going forward, and hopefully it'll we'll go forward with it.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so I'm assuming that Commissioner Collins, you'll take the next one, the infill housing pilot project.
So yes, we just wanted to provide an update to the committee. And I can attempt to share this. Let's see how we do with this one here. And I'll talk you through what I've got, and hopefully at some point it's going to show up to you. But this is what we forwarded to the committee before from regarding the home headquarters plan. So basically where we're at is we're moving forward with home headquarters and the projects that they're looking to build. And so I'm going to let Michelle Scapan. We're actually looking at 6 properties instead of 5.
It's still black. The screen isn't sharing.
It's still not sharing. I seem to be having some connectivity issues here at City Hall Commons. So I'll stop the share if you guys aren't sharing it a blank screen.
Maybe Michelle can share hers.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do on here too.
Let me try to get it pulled up here real quick.
So while Michelle's pulling that, so we'll talk here about what's happening with the home headquarters project. Housing Visions, we've continued to talk with them. They have been working to bring the price gap down between what's affordable and what they feel they can actually do. We still have a $1.5 to $2 million gap that we're looking at ways to be able to close that, but that's down from about $4 million. For 50 to 60 family, 50 to 60 units within 25 to 32 family buildings. So we'll update on that as progress. Michelle, you want to talk about this?
Michelle, can you see my screen? There you go.
You're on mute.
Michelle's now. Yep.
Sorry, am I sharing as well now?
Michelle is sharing.
All right, cool. So as Michael said, we have 6 sites that we're looking at. There's 5 that are listed here, but 2 of them are unsure. They were able to get to right through there. So happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Council Allen, this is Deputy Mayor. We wanted to be able to move forward on some sites, and we still are pending the AHC application that we came before the council. Well, seems like forever ago, before COVID stay-at-home orders, and so we like being able to move on this smaller group of developments, because internally we can identify funds to move forward with it. And so it gets us going. And so these are the locations that we've identified to move forward immediately.
So ideally we would do these 5 now, and then when would we, so this would be considered the first phase. So when would the second phase roll out?
So that's what we're trying to plan now, because we still have AHC is a big part of that, and there is no guidance yet as to when or if they're going to release money from AHC. So we're doing some preliminary plans, and if AHC comes through, if AHC doesn't come through, we got a whole nother problem.
And so these would just be the single family homes. So with the 2 families with housing visions, I'm assuming that they're not going to have any of them done within this year. Correct.
So the family homes that we're looking at here will be, the expectation is that these 5 plus the additional one for a total of 6 on shore will be done in this construction season. It's what's after this that there are too many variables for an expectation that anything could get started in this year, because there's going to have to be a tax credit application once we've got everything else in line. And so that's, the soonest that could happen would be a fall application.
Also, Councilor Allen, in that planning, we're also looking at the concept of owner-occupied 2 families. That idea really intrigues us, that it gives not only the ownership opportunity, but also the revenue generating opportunity and safe, affordable rental housing. The assumption being that individuals that live and occupy and rent in the same facility are going to be good stewards of that property, not only for themselves, but for the tenants in the building.
So in those cases, you would just have, so the owner would live downstairs or whatever, and then they would rent out the apartment above them, or however they want to do it. But would there be any income guidelines for the renter?
So that is what we're, in theory, it to me kills 2 birds with 1 stone. It addresses home ownership while also providing quality rental units. It's finding the actual funding source that won't be so burdensome to the owner of the property. So
right. And if you don't want to push them, you don't want to push the owner out of the bracket for the HUD guidelines either, with the income from the apartment.
Or the oversight requirements might just be too much.
The income from a landlord's perspective, income qualify and recertify annually for a tenant. That's not something that we think a small time landlord should be saddled with making sure that there are HUD regulations on that. So that's to Deputy Mayor's point. We want to make sure that we're not setting up a potential income qualified buyer with something that's not necessarily reasonable to sustain.
Right. Okay. All right. Any other questions from my colleagues? No? Okay. Thank you for sharing your screen, Michelle. And I think so we only had those 3, correct?
I believe so. That's all that I had on anybody that
so it was those 3, but this last one that we discussed isn't actually an agenda item, correct? This was just a discussion?
Correct. I'm an agenda for this meeting. Yes.
So yes, it's 3 items?
Yes, I have covered everything that I was hoping to cover. And you're right, the infill project is not something that is an agenda item for the council meeting.
Okay, so to our, so to the other members that's on this committee, are you guys all set with moving the 2 forward onto the agenda next week? Okay, cool.
Counselor Allen,
Yes,
just to confirm, we've been informed that this meeting is going to move to a Thursday. Is this going to be the Thursday after the study session that the next one will be?
yeah, so instead of us having it on how I used to have it on the Tuesdays, it'll now be that Thursday after that Tuesday. If that makes sense. Yeah, I guess there was some I don't want to say confusion, but I guess it was just a matter of Tuesday was too early to get some of the paperwork in and just felt rushed. So we're just gonna move it to the Thursday instead.
Will your next committee meeting be this Thursday or?
No, so it won't be this Thursday because we won't have anything new to discuss.
Okay.
So yeah, and I'll have as soon as we get done, I'll have Amanda send out the update, and that way we can go from there. But yeah, instead of it being on Tuesday, now it'll be on Thursday.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And we have study session in a few minutes, but before we get off, just because we're on the subject of neighborhoods, the COVID relief funds, do we have an update on that as far as when it will be released from HUD?
So I'm catching part of what you're saying with this connection. As far as the COVID relief funds, I'm hoping to be able to confirm within the next week or so that what we are proposing, what we've sent to you as a proposed budget, is going to be fully acceptable to HUD in that form. So we're moving forward as if we'll have that confirmation in time to be able to act on it for the June 8th meeting. Separately, what you also are seeing is that we discussed within the business committee, is that DSS, we've been in close contact with Sarah Merrick at Department of Social Services to have them administer the direct financial assistance. So we would be looking for the council to approve an intermunicipal contract, and we'll talk about that in the next meeting.
So ideally, people wouldn't really see any relief until what would you say, like July?
Yes, we expect that it would probably be beginning of July. What we're hearing is, although HUD intended to get this money out very quickly, we still seem to be moving faster than most municipalities because of the fact that HUD has 2 interesting restrictions with this. One is that this has to be certified. All the issues need to be certified as COVID related, and certified is my language on it. But we need to be able to demonstrate to HUD that the money is going to things that are specifically impacted by COVID. And secondly, that this needs to be last dollars in. And so how something that we can verify and demonstrate to HUD, there still just isn't excellent guidance from HUD on that yet. And so we're trying to make sure that we've got ourselves fully protected on it.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. And that's all I have for now.
Thank you, Council.
Are we on the same line for 12 o'clock?